So before we get into 30, 60, 90 triangles, I want to refresh 45, 45, 90 from a couple days ago. Little refresher on the model here. 45, 45, 90. We have, those are our angle measures. What do I know about this diagram? What are the same? The legs are the same, right? So I can represent those as x. How do we go from the leg to the hypotenuse? Right. Multiply by square root of 2. Right now, where do I get the square root of 2 from? That's just like the formula, right? Or what I gave you. Okay, so we have square root of 2. If I'm going to the hypotenuse, I'm multiplying. What if I go back? I'm going to divide. Okay, so let's look at what we have on these two. On number 1, do they give us a leg or do they give us a hypotenuse? They gave us a leg. So which one out of 1 and 2 can I get right away? 1, because why? Legs are always the same in 45, 45, 90. So 1 is the square root of 6. How do I find my number 2 here? Multiply 2 square root of 6 times square root of 2. And again, that square root of 2 comes from where? The formula, okay? If I multiply those together, what does that create? 2 square root of 12. What do I need to do with that square root of 12? Simplify. What is a perfect square that goes into 12? 4, how many times? 3. So what is the square root of 4? 2. Then I keep the square root of 3. So lastly, I do 2 times 2, which is 4 square root of 3. What did that give me? Hypotenuse. Yep, so that is 4 square root of 3. Okay. What about the second example here, number 2? What's different about this one? They give us the hypotenuse. So is this one as easy where I can say, oh, if this is 8, then this is 8? No, because it gives us the hypotenuse. So how do I go back to find the length of the leg? I have to divide. Yep. So I take 8 divided by square root of 2. So now we have to simplify that. How do I simplify? Yep, multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. If I multiply straight across here, what do I have? 8 square root of 2. Multiply straight across on the bottom, I get square root of 4. Can I do anything with 8 square root of 2? No. And then what is the square root of 4? 2. With division, what do you always have to check? See if you can simplify those whole numbers. In this case, can I? What's 8 divided by 2? 4 square root of 2. What did that just give me? Gave me both of the legs. So this leg's 4 square root of 2. This one's also 4 square root of 2. Okay. Real quick, someone in the last class had a really good question. I'm going to zoom into this model real quick. You should have this model written down on your notes somewhere at least. So if I'm going from the leg to the hypotenuse, am I getting bigger or smaller? I'm getting bigger, right? So that is meaning we are multiplying. Okay. Now, if I go from the hypotenuse back to a leg, what am I doing? Right? Am I getting bigger or am I getting smaller? I'm getting smaller, so then I have to divide. So that's how you know the difference if you are multiplying or dividing. Okay? So just keep that in mind. All right. Now we are moving on to 30, 60, 90. So just like you did the other day, we're going to take some notes here real quick, and I'm going to give you a diagram. Okay? So go ahead and label wherever you are writing this down at as 30, 60, 90. Okay? And then, of course, draw your right triangle. What does these numbers mean? The angle measures, yep. So what I want you to do for this diagram, make sure one of the legs you can tell is smaller than the other. Okay, make sure one of the legs is smaller than the other. What I'm going to ask you, we know where the 90 is. Okay? How do I tell the difference between where the 30 is and where the 60 is? Right. By width, is it across or is it right next to? Yep. So the smaller angle is across from the smaller side. Okay, so then that leaves 60 as this angle here. Does it make sense for those 3 angles to create a whole triangle? Why? They add up to 180. Yep, so that's why we can have it split up as a 30, 60, 90. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to break this up into a diagram just like we did with 45, 45, 90. Okay. What's different about this one is, do we have legs that are the same length anymore? No, because our angles are no longer the same. Okay, so it's not as nice as the 45, 45, 90s were. What I want to label first is I want to name these sides so that we can refer to them. This side, I'm simply going to call the short leg. Why can I call it the short leg? It's the shortest. Yep. If that one's the short leg, what's this one? Long leg. And then, as always, what's this side always called? Hypotenuse. Yep. So for a 30, 60, 90 triangle, we have a short leg, a long leg, and a hypotenuse. Okay. With the 30, 60, 90 triangle, the leg that is the most important that I want you to label X is the short leg. Okay, so go ahead and label your short leg X, and then star that, circle it, or something. Okay, and then label that as your starting point. Okay, in order to find our long leg and our hypotenuse, we have to know what the short leg is. Okay, have to. So, same idea as with the 45, 45, 90. If I'm going from the short leg, let's go to the long leg first. Am I getting bigger or smaller? Getting bigger, so am I going to multiply or divide? I'm going to multiply, okay? And what the special number is in this case is the square root of 3. And again, where I get that is it's the formula and the theorem I'm giving you. Okay? Now, if I go from short leg to the hypotenuse, again, am I getting bigger or smaller? Getting bigger, so I'm going to multiply. And what I'm going to multiply by for the hypotenuse, it's kind of nice. All I'm going to do is double it. I'm going to multiply that by 2. Okay? As always, if I'm going, let's say I'm going back to the short leg from either of them, what am I going to do? I'm going to divide, just like the same idea with the 45, 45, 90. Okay? Here's the thing. I cannot go from the long leg to the hypotenuse. I cannot do that. You always have to go from the starting point. So, a little note I want you to make. You have to go from the short leg. Okay. If you know the short leg, you can easily find the long leg and the hypotenuse. If you don't know the short leg, that's what you want to find first. Okay? But the model works the same as what the 45, 45, 90 did. It is just with different values. Okay? So to get from the short leg to the long leg, we're going to multiply by the square root of 3. What am I going to do if I'm going to go back to the short leg from the long leg? Divide by square root of 3. If I'm going from short leg to the hypotenuse, I'm going to multiply by 2. What if I go back to the short leg from the hypotenuse? I'm going to divide by 2. Okay? How this is going to make more sense to you is if you jump right into an example. So go ahead and look at example 4, A and B. Go ahead and try those. So similar idea with when we had 45, 45, 90 triangles. You always want to look at what it gives you. As in, does it give you a short leg, long leg, or a hypotenuse on A? What's it give us? Short leg. Is that good or bad? That's good, right? If we have the short leg, that means we can find everything else. If I label these as 1 and 2, which one do you want to find first? And ask you this, does it matter which one you find first? No. Pick one or 2. 1, okay? So if I go from short leg to the long leg, what am I doing? Multiplying by square root of 3. If I take 6 times the square root of 3, what does that turn into? 6 square root of 3. So your long leg is 6 square root of 3. How do I find my number 2 here, my hypotenuse? What am I doubling? Right. Can I go from long leg to hypotenuse? No. What do you always have to go from? Short leg. So from short leg to hypotenuse, I'm multiplying by 2. So 6 times 2 is 12. Okay. What's different about B? It gives us the long leg this time. Is that good or bad?
That's fine.
It's fine, but what? Okay, if I label these 1 and 2, does it matter which one we find first?
Yes.
Yes, in this case it does matter. What do we have to find first?
2.
We have to find 2 because why?
Starting point.
That's your starting point, right? That's our short leg. We want the short leg, okay? So start with where they have. Go from long leg back to the short leg. How do I do that? Yep, we're going to divide by the square root of 3. What is really nice about this one? Square roots of 3 can cancel, so I'm left with 9. What did that 9 just give me? That gave me my short leg. Okay, so now how do I find the hypotenuse? Yep, and again, can I go from long leg to hypotenuse? No, so you always have to go from that short leg. Short leg to hypotenuse, I take 9 times 2 to get 18. Okay, looking at example 5A. First of all, what kind of special right triangle is it? It's a 30, 60, 90. Okay, so with a 30, 60, 90, what do I need? I need the short leg. Do we have the short leg? No. What did they give us? Long leg. So how do I go from long leg back to the short leg? Yep, we got to divide that by the square root of 3. What do I need to do here to simplify? Yep, multiply the top and the bottom by square root of 3. If I multiply straight across, what do I have on the top? 28 square root of 3 over square root of 9. Can I do anything with 28 square root of 3? No. Nope. And then what is square root of 9? 3. With division, always check what? See if you can simplify and or cancel out. Can I take 28 divided by 3? No. If you do, you get a decimal. I prefer you not use decimals. Okay. If you do, no big deal. But I think it's easier for you if you just leave it as a fraction. Okay. What did that just give us here? That's the short leg. So we have 28 square root of 3 over 3 for our short leg. Now, how do I find the hypotenuse? Yep. I'm going to take that short leg. I'm going to multiply by 2. Go ahead and write this out real quick because this is going to be a mistake that a lot of you are going to make. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this by 2. What a lot of you are going to do is you're going to multiply the numerator by 2 and you're going to multiply the denominator by 2. We don't want to do that. Okay? To alleviate from that mistake, what can I treat 2 as? 2 over 1. Okay, so it's very similar to what we had up here. So if I multiply straight across here, what do I have? What's 2 times 28? 56 square root of 3 over, and then on the bottom we have 3 times 1, which is 3. Again, see if you can simplify. Can I take 56 divided by 3? No, you get a decimal. So this just gave us what? That's the hypotenuse. 56 square root of 3 over 3. Now, do you agree those kind of look a little messy and questionable? Okay? With these, that might happen a lot just because I'm telling you to leave things in fractions. Okay? As long as they are in simplest form, it doesn't matter what they look like. Okay? All right. How is B different? It's a 45, 45, 90. So we kind of have to switch our mindset a little bit. What did they give us? Hypotenuse. So how do I go from hypotenuse back to a leg? Yep, dividing by square root of 2. Again, we're using that 45, 45, 90 model. Okay, that's where we get that square root of 2. What do I have to do to simplify? Yep, multiply the top and bottom by square root of 2. When you multiply straight across, what do you get? 14 square root of 2 over square root of 4. I can't do anything with 14 square root of 2, but what's the square root of 4? 2. What's the last thing we got to check? Yep, what's 14 divided by 2? 7, and then we have square root of 2. What is this? What did that give us? Gave us both legs. Yep, 7 square root of 2 for both legs. Good. Let's look at these last 3 here. Number 2, is this a good example or a bad example? Good. Good, why? It gives us what we want, right? If we have the short leg, that makes everything kind of easy, right? How do I go from, first of all, does it matter which side I find first? It doesn't. How do I go from short leg to long leg? Multiply by square root of 3, that gives us 4 square root of 3. Okay, how do I find the hypotenuse? Which part by 2? 4. Yep, take the short leg, multiply that by 2. What do we get? 8. Okay. Number 5. These problems might get a little deceiving here because this one, it really only wants you to find x. Okay, so how do I go from hypotenuse to the long leg? Can't. That was a trick question. You cannot do that. What do I have to find first? Have to find the short leg. So how do I go from hypotenuse back to the short leg? Yep, take 18, divide that by 2, you get 9. And now, how can I find the long leg? Yep, short leg to long leg, take 9 times square root of 3, you get 9 square root of 3. All right, last one, number 9. Bless you. Number 9. What do we need to do? We need to find what the short leg is. How do I find the short leg? Right, it gives us the hypotenuse, so I'm going to take 41 divided by 2. What do you get when you do that? It's a decimal. Again, I'm okay if you turn your whole numbers into decimals. That's fine. I'm going to show you both ways. Okay, so what do I need to do with the short leg to get to the long leg? Yep, I'm going to do the decimal version first. If I multiply this by square root of 3, what do I get? Yep, 20.5 square root of 3. If I do 41 over 2 times square root of 3, what do I get there? 41 square root of 3 over 2. Remember, I can treat that as over 1. I don't care which one you do, okay? These both are the same answer. Okay? All right.